Hey there, this is Greg and I want to give you the very basics of Alice. So once you install the app, so it means moving its installation file into the applications folder and then accepting the model to open the app, then you're going to have a quick onboarding. And this onboarding is also available in the settings later on. So all the data from the onboarding, the account data and some things from general are accessible here in the settings. So in the onboarding, we're going to ask you to provide your email. And this is very important to have an email here that is whitelisted in Alice app. So basically only then you'll have the ability to see that your account is active. So please make sure that you are using the email that you've been using basically to either get the license from us or the one that you know that is whitelisted. Then you have your name and your avatar. This will appear in every conversation and Alice and other agents will remember your name as well. So that's about it. And in the general tab, what you have here is some settings that you'll be willing to adjust. And in the onboarding process, the most important thing that you'll have is OpenAI API key. This is the key that you have to get from OpenAI in order for Alice to work properly. That's extremely important. There is this key. If you click on it, it will reveal itself. But in order to get it, I just recommend you to go to openai.com and then either log in if you already have the account or you just create a new account. And it will ask you whether you want to proceed with the ChatGPT account or you want to access the API. In our case, we want to access the API, and this is the way to communicate with OpenAI models without using ChatGPT. So you won't be needing ChatGPT in order to use Alice. All you need is the API access, and for the API access, you don't have to pay a monthly fee. You'll be just charged by usage. So if you go to API, there is a lot of things that you can explore in the API section, but what we really need the most right now is to go to the left-hand side, and from here you can select API keys. So here you generate the API key. I have a few keys. I'm going to generate next key, just test one for now. You give it a name, you give it all permissions. This is very important. So you set the permissions to all or you leave it as is, and then create secret key. Now, your key is the most important thing and it grants access to your account. It means that it can never be revealed to anyone and you won't be also able to view it again from here. So what you need to do is copy it and you need to paste it in the section of Alice that is for this API key. But also, this is extremely important that this key has the read and write API resources permissions, and that you never reveal to anyone like I'm doing it for you now. What I'm going to do is just delete this key so it's not I'm revoking the key now, so it's not working anymore and no one can use my key. That's crucial because if you give someone your API key, then he can use your credit card in the file, and then he can just run credits on your behalf. And in this usage sections, which you have here, you will have all the costs connected to the usage of the API. And believe me, the account that I'm using here is spending $20 a month, but it's heavily using the API. So I'm doing like hundreds of calls daily to Alice. So basically the usage is still around the cost that you pay for ChatGPT, but from it I get a lot more. But don't worry, for you the usage bills will be much lower, a few dollars tops. But it's important to set the limits, and here you have the limits. You can increase or decrease it, and I highly recommend you to set the limit to, let's say, $20 or $30 a month. I don't think you'd ever need more, and also you'd be safe that your credit card won't be charged with some extra fees, or for example, if your API key leaks some way, then people won't be able to use it to just like take your money from your account. So once you set up your account, once you provide your credit card details, and this is very important because otherwise you won't have the access to some features of OpenAI API. So you have to provide this, and you have to also set the limit, whatever you want to choose. And then you can go straight to Alice and you can put the OpenAI API key in the onboarding process right here. and it will be also accessible all the time in the settings. You can change it whenever you want. Now, you have also Perplexity API key, and you can add it if you have Perplexity paid account. It's a very similar process on Perplexity website. You just go to API key and generate the key and provide it here. Unfortunately, Perplexity, as for now, is not allowing you to generate API keys without having a paid Perplexity account. So it's different to OpenAI because they don't necessarily need you to have a ChatGPT paid account to use API. You can use it freely and you can pay for tokens. But Perplexity, unfortunately, asks you to pay for the paid plan. So you don't really have to do it unless you, of course, want to use Perplexity inside of Alice. Now, you'd also be asked to create your first assistant in the onboarding process, but it's super straightforward. So one more thing that I'd like to show you in this global settings is the keystroke that you use to summon Alice, to call up Alice. And this is by default Command-Shift-D. So if I press the combination of the buttons, Command-Shift-D, it will hide and show Alice. And this is really important, the most important keyboard shortcut that you might be willing to change if it interferes with some of the keyboard shortcuts that you already use. So you might be willing to change it. If not, then Shift-Command-D is something that I use all the time to summon Alice. If I'm working with some other software, I will just press Command-Shift-D and then Alice appears and I can ask Alice anything. So this is really cool. It doesn't work if you are in the full screen mode with some other applications. Obviously, then Alice will appear on your desktop, so you won't see it on top of the application that you have running in full screen mode. So you have to go to desktop and then you can use Command-Shift-D to see Alice. But if you're not working with full screen apps, then you'll see Alice with this keystroke. And also you can decide that Alice can stay on top of all your applications. Sometimes I use it, so I turn it on and off depending on what I really need. If I work more with Alice than with some other apps, I will just let her stay on top, and so that everything I open is below, and I can easily use chat to work with Alice and copy and paste something through the windows. But you can just turn it off. And also this feature, copy answers to the clipboard, is turned off by default, but you can turn it on, and I like to turn it on because it will automatically copy all the responses from Alice to my clipboard, so I can easily paste them somewhere else. And if it's not turned on, you can obviously select and copy or click on the little icon next to the Alice's answer and copy the containing text. But basically, I feel that this is so much more helpful when it copies itself automatically. So that's about it from this account tab and this general tab that you will also see in the onboarding process. Like I mentioned, in the onboarding process, you're also going to set up your first assistant, and you're going to decide what kind of model you'll use in this very default assistant. But this is very straightforward. I recommend you to choose GPT-4 for now. And in one of the future lessons, I'm going to explain you everything about assistants. So rest assured that we'll cover that later. And also the very last thing I'd like to show you now is different screen modes. So you can reorganize Alice's window as you'd expect. But once you hit a certain width of the window, you'll see that the interface changes slightly, and you have the history of all chat here, and you can access settings here and create new chat from there. So this is more a ChatGPT-like interface that you can use, and you can just go full screen with Alice as well with this history to the left-hand side. So it's pretty convenient. Also, you can click on these little buttons to change how Alice's window behaves. So you can click to minimize it, you can click to dock it to the right-hand side, or you can click once more to go to the full screen mode, which sometimes doesn't work. but it's just the beta, so I think that we'll fix it pretty soon. So this is it. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next one.